Hello, I'm going to make a recipe today out of the Dale's Countryside Cookbook, which we sell in the museum at Hawes. The recipe that I'm going to make today is called Easter Buns. They're not actually buns, they're more of a biscuit, a little bit like a Shrewsbury biscuit. And so the recipe I've got weighed out here, so I've got 3 ounces of butter there. I've got 3 ounces of sugar, caster sugar, 6 ounces of plain flour. The recipe calls for cinnamon, but I'm using mixed spice because I'm not really that keen on cinnamon, so I've got some in this little jar here. 1 egg, which is in this little container, and also some currants, 2 ounces of currants. I haven't got any currants, so I'm improvising and I'm using mixed fruit. I think the recipe would work better with currants because they're a bit smaller, so you'll be able to roll it out a little bit more thinly. And then I've got my rolling pin because we need to roll them out. A little cutter. There we go. So we're ready to start. Now I'm going to pop the butter into the bowl here. It's quite soft because it's quite warm in the kitchen. So it's nice and soft. And I'm just going to cream that up now so that it's nice and soft. That's not too bad. You're just making it nice and soft really so that you can add the dry ingredients. Let's just soften it up. It's a little bit like a shortbread recipe. To sieve the flour into the bowl along with a pinch of mixed spice. Got some nice little spoons here. This one's the pinch, that one there. There's also a smidgen and a dash on these spoons. They're really nice, cute. There we go. There we go, just sieve that in, pop the sugar in and stir it all together. I'm going to make a very sticky dough. It is quite sticky to roll out. I did have a practice run. I did have some that I made earlier, but I'm afraid they all got eaten before I had a chance to put them on a plate. Straight off the cooling tray they went. So it's a little bit like breadcrumbs now. You see. There's that breadcrumby stage there. I'm going to add the mixed fruit. And then I'm going to mix up this egg and add that to it as well, and we'll make the dough into a sticky dough. You see it's all coming together now. I'm going to pop my hands in it now, get my hands in and gather it all together and make it into a nice mound of dough ready to roll out. It would probably benefit from being in the fridge. If you wrap it up in some foil, in some cling film, or pop it in a tub, pop it in the fridge and let it cool down, that would probably make it easier to manage, because it is quite short and if not that easy to roll out really. But I'm going to have a go at just doing it now without cooling it down in the fridge. There we go. Because it's so sticky, you do need quite a bit of flour, and you need to move it around as well. Move it up a little bit so you can see it. Maybe, can you? Oh no, it needs to be this way, doesn't it? Don't want too much flour, otherwise it makes it a little bit dry. Sure, I can still move it around a bit so that when I put the biscuits out that they won't stick to the table. There we go. And then when you've rolled it out thin enough, just cut them out into little rounds. And then go onto a baking tray. Start putting them onto the baking tray. Just see, move that so you can see it. Can you see it there? Just put them on. The flour that you use is plain flour, not self-raising flour. There we go. And you just keep going until your tray's full, and then pop them in the oven at about 160 degrees. 10 to 15 minutes. Once you've got your tray full, you can sprinkle the biscuits with some caster sugar, and that leaves a nice sugary crust on the top when they're finished. When you've finished baking them. Okay. The Easter buns are now out of the oven, and that's the Dale's Countryside Cookbook that I got the recipe from. There's some really interesting information in it, and I'll try and do one or two other videos.